Welcome back to Jump Scare. I'm Betty.
And I'm Chad.
This week we covered Shudder's The Mortuary Collection.
This poor soul's journey has come to an end. From dust we started, to dust we return. Every corpse tells a story. It is our task to listen.
So these are all stories about how people died.
Some tales even I find too unsettling to recount.
She's dead!
You gotta get that body out of your apartment.
Keep your doors locked tonight and keep an eye out for crazies.
Monsters!
That's pretty cool.
Yes, it is, isn't it? There's no use running. Your story is just beginning.
Well, I was very hesitant to watch. I'm very hesitant to watch any anthology film because I personally feel that I've been burned several times throughout the year. The last good anthology that I enjoyed, well, I did like Scare Package, but before that was Trick or Treat.
And that's not really a traditional anthology. That's more of just like a Pulp Fiction kind of, interconnected stories happening. It's not really like a straight anthology.
I guess. I thought it was a modern anthology because you kind of do have a wraparound story-esque.
Same kind of thing in Pulp Fiction, though.
Yeah,
then that's the wraparound story, and so it's not really like an anthology to me. It's more of just like an interconnected story. Or same thing with that movie Go, and some of those ones like that, where it's just a whole bunch of weird shit happening that has like one loose character that kind of connects them all.
I guess. I mean, there's one. Well, okay, fine. Scare Package. All the other ones I totally despise, and I find them to be terrible. I wanted so much to love Tales of Halloween, but there's way too many stories, and a lot of them are just terrible. I did not care. The only one that I really liked was the candy one.
Sweet Tooth?
Sweet Tooth, yes.
Yeah.
That one was freaking excellent.
Yeah, they should have done more with that. But yeah, I can't think of... There's been a lot of others, but a lot of them are very low budget and very, you can tell there's not a lot of thought put into them. There's not a lot of design or anything like that.
Well, we have some recognizable... Well, two recognizable... I've recognized one face, besides, obviously, the main.
Yeah, it's just Clancy Brown playing the mortician in this one called Montgomery Dark. Yeah, that's a good name for a mortician right there. Jacob
Elordi, who plays Jake. Who the heck is this guy, you're asking yourself? Well, he has been recently in the Kissing Booth movies. He's the main guy. Well, because you're a 40-plus-year-old man, I'm a 12-year-old girl in my heart. So, of course, I'm going to love all the fucking teen movies that Netflix shoves at my face. And I know him very well via those movies. He's also on HBO's Euphoria.
Never heard of it.
Okay. And then Caitlin Custer plays Sam, who wants the stories. She arrives at the mortuary.
First kind of asking for, just the stories, and then asking for a job when that doesn't get her anywhere. And
because they're hiring.
Yeah, they perpetually are hiring, he says. Which, that gives me indication right there that I don't want to work at this place. If they're always hiring, that seems like the kind of place you don't want to work. High turnover rate is not a good sign.
The film was filmed. The Mortuary Collection was filmed in Astoria, Oregon. I love Oregon. I want to live and die in the state at a very old age, like 105, I'm thinking. And the Flavel House Museum, it was built in the 1800s. You can tell the film does this weird thing where each story looks like Nuo 50s, 60s age. You don't really know the time frame this is happening.
Well,
but everyone's using a landline. No one has a cell phone.
And everyone's using, it's more rotary dial phones. And I think there's a reason for that later. I won't go into reasons why because it might spoil it, but I'm thinking the reason is that things are not happening in exactly the time frame you think they are.
Okay, and that's fine. It doesn't take away or ruin the story for me at all. It's just, and it looked gorgeous. Let me just say, if you're someone that likes the visual aspect of films, like the set production and stuff like that, the film is beautiful. It was filmed at the Flavel Museum, so a lot of it. So, the house is the star within itself. It's everything. There hasn't been anything, at least not too much of it, that's been reproduced. Everything is still the original coloring, the original woodwork from the 1800s. So there's a lot of history within the house, and it's a beautiful, amazingly haunting backdrop for this film.
Yeah, I saw some actual pictures of the house, and it looks like they just kind of CGI'd out some of the other houses around it, and then that was it. They just left it there. It looked like it was pretty much untouched. So it looks like a good, creepy, scary house, The anthology
consists of 4 stories, and that's The Medicine Cabinet.
Which is probably the shortest one.
Unprotected, Till Death, and The Babysitter Murders. And we'll get into the Babysitter Murders later, because there's more to that with that story, which I found very interesting. The Medicine Cabinet. We're going to break down each story, not too much. I don't want to give anything away. It's definitely worth a watch. I'm just going to throw this out there. I give it 4 knives. Just let's get that out of the way. It's 4 knives. You probably heard everyone talking about this film so far. It came out on Friday, I believe. And we'll start with The Medicine Cabinet. So you have this woman who's on a date, and she's a pickpocket, and she bites a little more often what she can chew. Her curiosity got the best of her.
Yeah, she should have just left things alone.
The first story, I was like, I don't know. This first story it's okay.
But then I kind of thought the same thing, but then I liked it when they actually cut to the characters and she was actually saying, that was okay, but it didn't really work for me.
Exactly. And that is fucking great. It has like that creep show humor. You know, the whole film has like that humor in it.
Yeah, a little bit of the black humor along with it. But like I said, when they did that, I was like, oh, okay, so they know what's going on here.
It's like they're just slowly, bringing you into the story. And they're going to throw everything all at once at you. And the story's fine. And it looks, I can't say this enough. It's just visually stunning. I was just like, holy shit, this place is like this bathroom. It reminded me of The Shining, like the bathroom.
It looked like the Overlook Hotel.
Yeah, for sure. Like the green, like in it.
Well, and this is one of those things too. This first one, even though it's very short, I could see this just being a separate short that someone made. That they're like, here's our little 5-minute horror short that only has 1 or 2 people in it. And it would work for that pretty well. But, as part of the anthology, like I said, at first you were kind of like, I don't know. But then when they started commenting on it, I was like, all right, they know what they're doing. So I'm fine with it.
Overall, the film, because I'll probably say this like 29 times, great effects. Practical effects. A lot of the effects are practical. And it pays off. And it's just, for me, there was just so many scenes. They were just hauntingly beautiful. Like, there's scenes where the camera just pulls. There's this one scene where the camera's pulling back and it's showing what's happening. It's just so, I called it gore-tastic. Like, it was just not in a disgusting, like what you would think gore. It was just like It was gorgeous. See what I did there?
I gotcha.
The second story is Unprotected, and that's where Jacob Elordi comes into.
The guy that I've never heard of.
Jake. His name is Jake. And it's, frat boy, adding notches to his bedpost. He's telling girls that, condoms empower them, and he's empowering the, women, and he's all about the patriarchy. The patriarchy is going to, burn down, and it's dying and all that stuff. And
he's got a lot of really good lines to get women in bed, basically.
Yes, he definitely knows what he's doing. And he's a looker, so that also helps if you're interested in that kind of look.
And, I think you can see that, this is not going to work out well for him in the end.
He, they show this little mousy, girl, she's the glasses, the little headband, minding her business. Another frat boy comes up to her who's a, nerdy looking kid. And he has his eyes on her, but she gets, the attention of Jake, and Jake comes over and invites her to a party that they're having. And she decides, she's going to go to this party. And, let me tell you, this takes, he decides he doesn't want to, the whole empower thing obviously is bullshit. And he doesn't want to deal with a condom, and it does not go well for him. All I'm going to say, he gets what he thinks is an STD, but it's so much worse.
This one has a lot of really good practical effects in it, too. There's some good makeup in it. It makes it look really creepy and disgusting, and there's a couple of scenes that, they really get in there with the gross out factor on a couple of them in this one, and they're really good. There's one thing I hadn't seen before, and that may haunt me for a while. The next story in it was called Till Death. And as soon as you see Till Death, till this part, and someone's not coming out of this well. But this one's about a man who is married, and his wife has been in a coma and not really able to respond, do anything. He's taking care of her all the time. That's his full-time job, is just taking care of her while she just lays in bed. He has to feed her, do everything, and you can see that he really is into cooking. He's, making all these gourmet meals for her, but then they just get put in a blender and fed to her like soup. So he really has nothing going for him.
No, and they're young. It's not like an elderly couple. I would say they're probably in their 30s.
Yeah, they're in their mid-30s. And this is one of those things that you can see where it's going to go, but at the same time, you feel bad for him, but you kind of understand what's going to happen and why it has to happen. And you're like, oh, I see, but I don't know if I could do it, Yeah,
this story actually was my least favorite. Because I felt like
there's no real bad guy in this story.
No, there's no real bad guy, but also it's unexplainable. Like, what? I guess it is explained, but I just don't like the way it was explained. I don't know. It left me feeling some kind of way, and I can't pinpoint exactly what it is without giving too much away.
Well, like I said, I kind of felt like there was no real villain in this one, because if he had been evil, or she had been evil, if she'd been a terrible person and he was still taking care of her, and then something happens, you could have felt a little bit differently about it. But I kind of felt bad for both of them in this one, because there really was no bad guy in it. You could see where both of them were, obviously with her, she didn't have much choice in the matter. And with him, I kind of felt like he didn't either, so they were both kind of screwed.
The last story is the babysitter murders.
Yeah, that does sound familiar.
I was like, wait a second, what? Man, I don't even know how to... It's the story of how Sam comes to be at the mortuary, and there's so much more to it, but this is actually probably it's tied with the Unprotected, because I really did like that story, but this is my top favorite one. It's there's so much going on in it because cleverly, while we're watching what Sam is going through and how, and how she got to the mortuary, we're also she's watching a horror movie. And the horror movie that she's watching is actually a short from 2015 from the director that he had done called The Babysitter Murders.
Yeah, so this was a clever idea to work your own short into the full-length movie.
Yeah, no shame whatsoever, and kudos to you, because I was just like, that's fucking great. Because at the end of the day, you're going to have to make, if she's watching something and you're an independent film, you're not going to want to do something that's, Nosferatu, Night of the Living Dead, something that probably doesn't have, it's public domain, but it's been done.
Two movies right there. That's why in every horror movie, they're always watching Night of the Living Dead, because it's public domain. They don't have to pay anyone. Even the more recent Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark, they're watching Night of the Living Dead at the drive-in.
Yeah.
So, that's why it's always that or Nosferatu.
So you don't want to have to deal with any of those. So just make your own damn short. If you already have a short, just put that into what she's watching. And it just ties into what's going on. There's some very clever things that he does that people that are going through what they're going through in the film, it kind of correlates to some things that are happening in the thing. And you'll see the scene where like a character is doing something in the film and then the person in, the situation is doing kind of the same action.
Yeah.
And I really like that. And the story is just great. I mean, the story of the actual story, not the Babysitter Murders, because we're only seeing clips from that, but we can only guess. There's a Halloween homage in there. I really love within the Babysitter Murders TV novella, whatever the hell she's watching. I like that aspect of it, and I can't tell too much, but it's the classic tale of, I'm a babysitter and there's a psycho on the loose and ... Yeah,
and it goes into some unexpected places, and I kept trying to second guess it throughout it, going, oh, it's going to do this, oh, it's going to do this, and I was kind of surprised by where it went, so good job on them, because it's hard to surprise me nowadays.
That shit paid off. It really did. And, that's the last story. And, then you think, oh, okay, then the wraparound story, the stories are going to end, and then credits. And it's like, no, we have more to show you, because now there's going to be more interaction between Montgomery and Sam. And, you're going to find out. They really set it up for a sequel.
Yeah.
And in a very clever way, because if you think about it, if you've come to a place, and we kind of skipped over the whole interview process, the interaction between Montgomery and Sam when she first gets there, but he interviews her and they're sitting in his room and he has a room full of books, and she asks him, like, what's up with all these books? Like, that's amazing. And he tells her these are all the stories of the dead and how they came to be at the mortuary, how they died. And so you can literally have so many sequels, like, because there's just so many stories to tell. And
you also wonder what Montgomery's story is as well, because you see a little bit of strangeness from him when he's conducting a funeral at the beginning, and you see him kind of go into a really strange direction about how we're going to lead the people out into the, we're going to be immortal, and then he kind of realizes, oh, I should stop. I'm creeping the people out.
Especially because, the funeral is not, it's a funeral, so saying those kind of things are not appropriate, but it's a very sensitive funeral that's happening.
This kind of reminded me of one that we saw years ago. I saw it back when it was on VHS, and it was called Cursed. And the original title of it was From a Whisper to a Scream, and it was with Vincent Price running a mortuary, and he was telling all the different stories that happened in it. I think you saw that one as well.
Yeah.
It kind of reminded me of that. And
Tales from the Hood?
Yeah, Tales from the Hood. It reminded me of those, and those are some of the better anthologies that I've seen, so it was in good territory.
I think this definitely will go into the whole, like the Creep Show Tales from the Hood,
Tales from the Dark Side,
Tales from the Dark Side, those anthologies, this sits up there for me with them. I mean, they're classics, but this can be a modern classic.
I think this one has the best wraparound I've seen probably since Tales from the Dark Side. It's hard to beat, Deborah Harry about to cook a kid in a big giant oven, but they did it in this one, I think.
They did, and they did a freaking fantastic job. And this is the only one that I've seen where there's a wraparound for the wraparound.
Yeah.
So, I mean, definitely check it out. It's on Shudder.
The writer-director of this, I don't know if we mentioned the name earlier, is Ryan Spindell. He's done a lot of shorts, and this is, I believe, his first feature, but he's done a great job on it, and I can't wait to see more from him.
It's a Kickstarter project, and that's how it started, and it's awesome. I think you were mentioning how the creatures and stuff
and creatures are like repurposed creatures from other TV shows, just painted, made to look a little bit different, and that's a good way to save money on that kind of stuff. So kudos to them, because the stuff wasn't recognizable, but it was definitely creepy.
Yeah, there's slight CGI in some areas where it needs to be, but it doesn't take away from the story because there's so much practical effects. And when you see the CGI, you're gonna know, okay, well that part is digital, but it doesn't
take away from the story.
No, it doesn't.
And it doesn't take you out of it. It's not like some of these ones where you see like really bad CGI, and you're like, oh, well, that really took it out of it because it's such an obvious, not there that it takes you out of it. Nothing in this really took me out of it.
What do you give it? How many knives?
I'm giving it the 4 knives too, because it was really good. I've always liked Clancy Brown. It's good to see him in these kind of roles where you can tell he's having a blast. He's done so many like creepy characters over the years, and just listening to him talk and tell stories is always great. He's done a lot of voice work over the years. People know him everything from Lex Luthor to he's on SpongeBob. He's on everything.
He definitely has a presence. And I think that you were mentioning that he would be a great...
If they had to, just watching him in this, if they ever do, and they eventually will, if they remake Phantasm, he'd make a great tall man.
He would make a great tall man. I mean, not besides the fact that he's tall.
He's tall, he's got that kind of creepy look to him, and he could definitely have the voice to say the boy line that you could really hear him selling that. That is my key piece of casting, and the other one I always want to see is I want to see Werner Herzog play the scary German guy in Monster Squad. Because he would be an amazing scary German guy.
They don't need to remake that movie, and it would be everything that makes a Monster Squad great would be lost if it was made today, because they would not be able to. But yes, I agree with both of those.
I would love to, if they are going to remake it, and they probably will eventually, they have to get Werner Herzog to be the scary German guy, because I can't think of anyone else that would be amazing in that role. Just him sitting down talking to the kids about the stuff would be great, because the kids would be terrified on for real. He really would be the scary German guy on the set.
He really would be. He always is the scary guy on the set.
Yeah, I loved it when he popped up in Parks and Rec, and it was just the guy like, oh yes, I'm selling the house and moving to Disneyland so I can be closer to the children.
It's like, no.
You probably shouldn't do that.
No, stay there at the creepy doll factory house. Yeah. Thank you so much for joining us on our review of the Mortuary Collection, which can be viewed on Shudder. And I believe there's 12 more days till Halloween.
Yep. So everyone start celebrating now, because there's not much going on this year. So get your movies out. Let us know what you're watching. Email us at staytunedtothehorror and tell us what you're watching and what you're going to be doing this Halloween.
At gmail.com.
Yep.
Not Juno or Yahoo or any
of those others. Staytunedtothehorror at gmail.com. Email us, let us know what you're doing for Halloween. We'd love to hear from you.
Yeah, because we love Halloween. And this actually, if you wanted a way to watch this for Halloween, it would make a great Halloween movie.
Yep, it would be great for that.
Thank you so much, and stay tuned to the horror.
And now, folks, it's time to say goodnight. We sincerely appreciate your patronage and hope we've succeeded in bringing you an enjoyable evening of entertainment. Please drive home carefully and come back again soon. Good night.